The background material in this video can be viewed at thewaythetruithandthelife.net. More specific references will be given in the notes.
Ever notice how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with? That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I would slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Okay, folks, welcome back. I am Jesse Lee Peterson, uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. You can get involved by calling 888-77-JESSE, 888-77-53773. It's Open Line Friday. Get it off your chest day. Whatever's on your mind, express yourself. I got it. It's not what you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you're doing what you look like you're doing. Express yourself. I got it. A day late and $1 short, but I made it. There's a line open, 888-77. Let's go way out yonder to Russia and talk to Donald. Donald, welcome to America.
Hi, glad to hear you.
All right, thank you for calling, buddy.
Yeah, I wanted to share a couple of thoughts that I know you would like to help men and women to be able to make families. And I think the Lord has helped me to discover some insights.
Okay.
But one of them, we have genetics nowadays. Discovering God's laws of chemistry has opened up so many things. There's so much garbage at the university, the old literature, that the genetics discovery is just shown it's gobbledygook. And that we're all related. We came out of Africa and all these things. But we have 96% of the genetics in the great apes. That's the chimps and the apes. And when in the Bible it says a year, 1,000 days are the same to the Lord.
Yep.
That this story, to take literally the stories that God gave us, that give some insight. Before there was the written history, it was a verbal history that the wisdom of the older elders passed down because it was good.
Yep.
The nonsense stories got lost because they cared about their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But what I wanted to say here, the great apes very seldom kill their babies. And they breastfeed, most of them, till the second of teeth. That would be equivalent to 5 or 6 years old. What happened? What happened in the change between the great apes in that 4% different DNA? What happened that women are getting rid of their children and they don't want to breastfeed them? And I believe I have some insight. Could I share it?
Yes, sir.
Well, this out of Africa knowledge that's coming from the genetics, it appears that there was a time when there were grass fields, and the way God brought man out of the jungle was into these grass fields, and they learned rather than climbing trees to walk and run, and that separated them from the great apes. But I'm here in Russia, and it's been terrible. There's a dog heat. And every night and every morning, there's a whole gang of dogs attacking her and all the fighting going on. Jesse, that's what women had to put up with for millions of years. And before women, before we had developed, God had made us out of this development, the animals had to put up with women being raped like this. And here's the key. When God, this Garden of Eden, what is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? When God gave us the genetic ability for language to make logical connections, and the women connected their babies to that SOB that raped her.
Hold on for me, Donald. 888-7753-773. Hold on, Donald. We'll get back to you right after this break.
American values and families are under attack. Homosexual marriage, abortion, race problems, government corruption. Are you tired of the cultural and moral decay? If you want real change and accountability from your political and religious leaders, if you strongly believe in the family, traditional values, and honest race relations, then join Bond Action Incorporated today. Bond Action Inc. was created to educate, motivate, and rally Americans to greater involvement in the cultural and political issues that threaten our country. We need your physical, spiritual, and financial support as we work together to stand up for our families, our communities, and our nation. Contributions to Bond Action Inc. are not tax deductible. To get involved or donate, call 877-WE-ACT-77. That's 877-932-2877, or go to www.bondaction.org.
The U.S. Supreme Court is making a decision today whether or not to hear some of these cases concerning same-sex marriage. We'll let you know as soon as we know what the decision was. I hope they go against it. Proposition 8 in California said that marriage is between a man and woman. Everybody and their mama voted in support of a marriage between a man and a woman. Liberals are trying to overturn that. So it's made it up to the high court. We'll see what happens. Don't forget, every Sunday morning you can be a part of my Sunday morning services by going to bondinfo.org. You can watch it live. You can call in. You can email during the service. The phone number and email address flashes on the screen there. And feel free to call in and or email and put your name and town on it. Don't forget to donate to a nonprofit organization at Christmas time. It's time for giving. And I appreciate you helping us to help others. The need is greater than it was even 22 years ago. We don't get money from the government, so go to, and then we have a online store with excellent gifts in there, just perfect gifts. Our Fatherhood and Men Conference CDs and DVDs. My books are there. Go to bondinfo.org, bondinfo.org, or call 1-800-411-BOND, 1-800-411-2663. to purchase or make a donation, And don't forget, come Monday, we're going to be video streaming the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. You can watch it live from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time, 9 to noon Eastern time. Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. Let me go quickly back to Russia and talk to Donald. Donald, I'm not quite getting the point you're trying to make. I'm black and a little slow, so it's okay.
No, you're Jesse. You've got intuition and common sense. That is the nonverbal. You see things, and the verbal, you understand something logically and can talk about it. Now, you're a gift. Just because these things are just being discovered. I mean, we didn't see atom bombs. We didn't even understand DNA back when I was born, practically. You
Right.
understand? This is
I
all
do.
new stuff.
Yeah.
But your insights, you have no apology. You have some insight. These people schooled and in books rather than learning from God, from living. In God we live and move and have our being.
Wow.
You have the confidence in what God showed you. God bless you. I'm so thankful for you. But
Thank you, Donna. Call me again. I'm out of time. Call me again next week.
all right, next Friday. How's that?
I would love that.
years,
Thank you.
Scientists have been using cutting-edge technology to investigate your family history. We've been delving into your distant past, and we've discovered something incredible. It's time we shared it with you.
A long time ago, your family were on the brink of dying out. Yet somehow, against impossible odds, they managed not only to survive, but to become the most successful people on the planet. Come with me, and I'll tell you something that'll change your view of the world. It's the story of your family, how they conquered the earth.
What if I told you that scientists have discovered a time machine, a portal that has allowed us to see back into ancient history? And what if I told you that for the past 10 years, I've been using this time machine to gather information that has been rewriting history, your history? And where does this information come from?
Blood. It's one of the world's most evocative substances. To many people, it represents the essence of life, a religious sacrament, a gift from the gods. But to me, it embodies the past. Because inside this tiny crimson drop is the greatest history book ever written. It's the story of a journey, the journey of our species, and each of us is carrying a unique chapter.
But it's only in the last decade that we've discovered how to read these stories. A window on the past that archaeologists could only dream of. A time machine hidden in our genes. My name's Spencer Wells, and I'm a geneticist. The adventure began for me as a young researcher when I was lucky enough to work with a special man. I've tracked him down here in Venice. His name is Luca Cavalli Sforza. Luca was the first man to realize that blood could be the time machine to reunite us with our ancestors.
Evolution is history. Biological evolution is a genetic phenomenon. So unless we look at the genetics, we don't understand our history, we don't understand why we were made the way we are made.
This is how it started. In science, every now and then a big new idea comes along. It happened back in the 50s. What if we could use blood to learn about our most distant ancestors? The question became an obsession for Luca. He gathered up blood samples from populations around the planet. Why? To build a family tree for the whole world.
We saw that we could reconstruct a tree for these populations. We didn't know what it was supposed to be, but it made some kind of sense.
Luca had made the first steps toward a monumental truth that everyone alive today might be related, but his results were still hazy. It's the 1970s, and Luca's out in Central Africa sampling the blood of the Biaka and Mbuti people. He had a hunch that isolated tribes could give him a clearer picture of our distant past. He was right. They could. It really was possible to work out distant family lines from blood type, and the key lay in the blood of isolated populations. Flash forward to the early 90s. I was lucky enough to be one of a chosen few working with Luca at Stanford University in California. There was a scientific revolution in full swing, and the buzzword was genetics. While everyone else was talking about the future, we were looking backwards into the past. Blood was the time machine, and we were time travelers. Soon, we were taking Luca's work onto a new level. 10 years on, and we're ready to rewrite history. There are now some 6 billion people spread across our planet. Not so long ago, our species numbered little more than 10,000, and their world was a single continent, Africa. Then, something happened. A small band left their African homeland on a journey into an unknown, hostile world. You are one of their children. Who were these people?
I know the genetic results. They're supported by clear data, and yet I still find it amazing that only 50,000 years ago, the ancestors of all of us were still living in Africa. It seems like such a short period of time on an evolutionary timescale. Look at it this way. Humans evolved from apes, and apes first appear in the fossil record about 23 million years ago, a huge expanse of time. So compress it down to a year. In that case, apes appear on the 1st of January. Toward the end of October, the first ape men arrive, the first ancestors to walk upright. Amazingly, it's not until the 28th of December, nearly the end of the year, that the first fully modern humans arrive on the scene. And even more incredibly, it's not until the 31st of December, New Year's Eve, that they leave Africa to populate the rest of the world.
And by New Year's Day, our ancestors had made it to the furthest corners of the globe. The Kalahari Desert, Namibia. I'm here to find an extraordinary ancient tribe of people, the San Bushmen. Our research shows that their distant relatives left Africa and set a tree of mankind. From them stemmed every color, creed, and nationality alive today. We know the fathers of mankind started their journey from here, but why did they leave? I'm hoping the few survivors they left behind, the San Bushmen, will help me solve this fundamental question.
So
50,000 years on, I hear their numbers are dwindling fast. Soon they could be gone entirely. I'm arriving not a moment too soon.
Hello? How are you? I'm Spencer.
And my 2 children, they are boys. This is my wife.
Amazing. Do you want to see a picture of my daughter?
Yeah.
This is her in her school uniform.
Her,
What's her name? Margot.
Margot.
I have to explain to them why I'm here. But how do I begin? For a start, what's Bushman for geneticist anyway? I sense this is really going to be tough for a lab rat like me.
I just want to tell you a little bit about why I've come here. It's mostly to find out about your way of life. I'm really excited to be here. You know, it's such a dream for me to get to meet the San people, the Bushmen. In a way, you carry a secret in your blood, and you can think about it like a family tree.
I explained the tree was just like the family that we all belong to. My family line is one of the small fractured branches at the very top, while theirs is the oldest on Earth, the biggest branch at the base of the trunk. I get the feeling I'm not explaining this at all well, but they're way too polite to say so. This is really quite embarrassing.
So it's a great privilege for me to come and meet my distant relatives and the people who give us a glimpse of all of our ancestors. So in one sense, we're all Khoisan. We're all San people. It's just that my skin is slightly redder.
We would like to thank you for the information that you brought for us.
This is like a dream for me. Everything predicted in their blood seems to be written in their faces. It's like looking at a composite model of every face from around the world. The eye shape of East Asians, the high cheekbones of Mongolians, the mid-brown skin that could turn darker or lighter. So how do I know that of all the people on Earth, the San are direct descendants of our oldest ancestors? I'll try to explain a little better this time. I work with DNA, our very own manual of life. It's in our blood, in every cell of our body, orchestrating our life processes. DNA is a ladder of just 4 linked molecules, A, C, G, and T, strung together in pairs in an incredibly long and complex sequence. If laid out, the DNA from one person would stretch to the moon and back 3,000 times. In our cells, this chain is broken into 46 bundles called chromosomes. Because of its sheer length, DNA is prone to develop small glitches in its sequence. They're called mutations. Everybody has them. When they occur, we pass them on to our children. We call these inherited mutations markers. As our chromosomes pass down through the generations, they carry these markers with them. They write our history. They are the source of our time machine, the way we can see back to our earliest ancestors. The markers I follow are found only in men, on their Y chromosome, the chromosome that makes men men. But of course, men don't travel alone, and the journey of man is the journey of everyone.
I was walking through the village and I saw that they had massive piles of these sitting around everywhere. We call them monkey oranges. And they taste pretty good. They're a little bit like papayas. But I thought it would be a good idea to use them to explain exactly what we mean when we say we're following genetic markers. This is a man at some point in the past. The thing that makes him a man is his Y chromosome, a piece of DNA that's unique to men. When men have sons, they pass on their Y chromosome to those sons. Again, it's what makes them sons. So if we imagine that this man had 2 sons, they would have essentially identical DNA on the Y chromosome to their father. So they would get his Y chromosome in effect. And if we imagine that they also have sons, those sons, the grandsons of this very first man, would also have essentially the same DNA. But occasionally, when we pass on these pieces of DNA, we get a change in a single letter in the sequence. We can call those mutations or markers, and that's what allows geneticists to trace descent. And I've represented this marker with a little strip of tape, a little black bar. And just like before, all of the sons of this particular man will have essentially the same Y chromosome, so they will inherit this marker. And in that way, the marker acts effectively as a badge of descent, a marker of descent from this particular man, and that's what we follow. Now, as we move further down the tree, most of the sons will inherit just that single bar, but occasionally, as we saw before, we will get a second change in the Y chromosome. A second marker appears, showing descent from a particular man, in this case this person, who has first that marker, which came from that person back there, but an additional unique change on his Y chromosome, which he then passes on to all of his descendants. So in the people that we're talking about living in the present day, in this part of the tree, they've got 2 markers. They clearly trace their descent from this man, but the first marker, remember, arose all the way back there, all those generations ago.
The San Bushman markers are quite unlike any others found outside of Africa. In the world's family tree, their branch is the first to split from the rest. That's how I know they must be the oldest tribe on Earth.
The background material in this video can be viewed at thewaythetruthandthelife.net. More specific references will be given in the notes.